Okay, we've got almost 100 people on the call. We've got a few more people booked in, but I'm sure people will join us over the next few minutes. But let's dive in and get started because lots of things to cover today, and also lots of opportunity for you to ask questions. So if you're here because you have a particular question around managing people and balancing all the different responsibilities with your own health and well-being as a manager, then do please head to the Q&A section. We've got loads of time for answering questions today, but the quicker you get your questions submitted, the quicker we will be able to answer them. My name's Hayley. I'm one of the team at Think Productive. I deliver a lot of our productivity and well-being training. I've also got quite a bit of management experience, so I deliver some of our management workshops and programs and supporting organizations with culture change around leadership, management, meetings and meetings culture. And I'm joined by Elena, who's our managing director and head of culture,
Hey,
head of global culture. Have I got that right, Elena?
close enough.
So yeah, at Think Productive, we deliver management and leadership programs at different levels. They're bespoke programs that are tailored to what organizations are looking for. We also do a lot of training and consultancy work around helping you to create a culture where people can thrive and do their best work. That's what we're all about. And we're a global organization. We've got offices in Australia, Dubai, North America, Western Europe, and obviously the UK as well. So really keen to look at how we can help you with any of those things. So in our session today, as Elena said, we're not going to be reading out your names and who says what for the recording. Anything that you want to share anonymously, then just directly message myself or Elena in the chat. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel probably early next week. That's there in case anybody wants to recommend it to a colleague, or you just want to kind of come back and have a little look as a bit of a reminder. Today's session is very much a, a booster to help you think about what you're doing in terms of your management experiences, very much based on a session that we run called The Manager's Role, which is about looking at what's your role as a manager, what do you want to develop, and how do you want to keep showing up as a manager? What's your management style? So, the purpose of the session then, thinking about how we define like a manager's role, looking at some of the qualities, we can learn lots from good managers. I'm sure you've all experienced having some good managers. We can also learn lots from some of the less positive experiences. So there's no naming and shaming here today if you've had an experience of a manager that wasn't brilliant, but we might ask you to share some thoughts around that later on, because that's a good way for us to learn. I think we learn as much from the good experiences as we do the not so good ones. And one of the things that's at the center of how we operate at Think Productive is just thinking about how we look after ourselves and our own well-being in this. As a manager, you're probably often feeling the expectation that you'll be the person with the answers and you'll be able to sort out people's problems. But how do we after ourselves within that context of us being part of the team and needing to take care of our own well-being as well? So we'll give a bit of a thought to all of those things. And as I said, loads of time to come back to any questions that you might have. Haven't seen any questions submitted yet, so do please pop any questions in there. If you're here today thinking, I'd like to know the answer to this, and that's why you've logged on, please pop that in the question and answer section, and we will get around to your questions.
Haley, I just want to say there's a couple of people with raised hands. I don't know if that's intentional or not. Um, if you want to ask anything, do add them to the Q&A or pop me a direct message and I'll have a look on the chat. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Elena. Well spotted. So just asking you to head to the chat and share with us what are your thoughts around what makes a great manager? like hopefully you've all had some experiences of working with great managers. What made the experiences great? And there might be experiences of working with a manager that wasn't so great. So please, no naming and shaming. But what made that a less great experience? Great that people are looking to contribute. Please head to head to the chat in order to share your contributions today. When we're doing in-house webinars, we invite people to kind of put their hands up and come in on voice. But for these public webinars, we're just asking any questions go in the Q&A. If there's anything that you need help with today, then please just drop in Elena a direct message in the chat. That one comes up a lot. Not so great. Takes credit for my work. Feedback.
It is hard as a manager that you often don't get credit for stuff. I probably find
Yeah.
that one of the hardest things, to be honest. I just couldn't suck it up. I
Yeah, and
definitely
somebody
wouldn't
else
take
has said
credit for other
there,
people's ideas. No way.
yeah, it's really important, isn't it? Giving credit where it's due.
Mm,
And somebody else has said there in the chat, like micromanagement is just the worst. Yeah, there's quite a few comments agreeing with that as well. Staying calm when the team is under pressure, a clear vision. Yeah. Somebody said that my manager took credit for my work. Yeah, that's not good. We don't want to be doing that. That's not good at all. I guess there were some exceptions. If you're testing out something new and it's not worked, you don't want your manager to say, "Hey, it was that person's idea over there." We don't want people blaming people on their team when things haven't quite worked out. As a manager, we want to take responsibility, but give credit where it's due when a job has been done. I can see micromanaging coming up lots here. Never answering emails. Yeah, coming in with their own ideas, not being aware of the pressures of the team.
I've
Someone
asked,
who
oh, sorry, Kaylee. Sorry to
dive
interrupt.
in,
I
Elena,
was going to
go
say,
for it.
I've asked AI to summarize into 3 bullets what the main categories are of that we're seeing in the chat.
Great.
Inspirational and supportive leadership, trust and empowerment, integrity and reliability.
Nice. Really like that. Integrity and reliability. And yeah, one of the things that often comes up when I'm delivering this session in-house is predictability, like knowing how your manager might react to something, then being consistent in their approach as well. So we already know lots of things that bring great characteristics to being a manager. And on that flip side, like what not to do, how do we not replicate some of these negative things? And I think micromanagement is a particularly hard one. And it's particularly hard because, and somebody said there in the chat, is it performance monitoring, which is a necessary thing? So it can feel different, I think, depending on people's levels of skills and expertise or their perceived level of skills and expertise. But as a manager, if you're getting into that micromanagement space, it's exhausting. It doesn't feel great for the person experiencing it, but it's also really hard work and draining for you as a manager. So, yeah, you're right. Where there are performance issues, you might need to manage things a bit more closely. But knowing when to move into and when to come out of that space is a really important skill for any manager. So, some of the themes that we often hear, listening, that definitely came up in your thoughts in the chat there. And it's listening deeply. I know when Graham is delivering his training about kind leadership, he talks about the importance of listening deeply. We're listening to what's being said, but we're also listening perhaps to the tone. We're looking at patterns over time. We're listening to what's not being said as well. We're asking questions and we're remaining curious and still listening to the answers, rather than listening, feeling like a bit of a tick box exercise. We think great managers are people who empower and develop other people. Lots of people have mentioned in the chat there, feedback, uh, trust and empowerment, giving independence is in the summary there. People doing what they say they will do. Praising publicly and feeding back privately. So that's giving credit for good ideas where it's due. Sharing, this person has done this, they've done a really good job. Thanking and making that a part of your team's culture, I think, is really important. But the feedback is done privately. My son, when he was at primary school, used to really struggle with handwriting. And one of his teachers would say, no, we're going to do some neat handwriting now. It's not going to look like his, it's going to look nice and neat. That's not how we want to be managing people. If something's not working well, that's a conversation to have privately rather than as a group. But encouraging people to give each other feedback, that praising publicly is really important as part of that. And advocating for the team. So recognizing, often people will say to me, I don't delegate because what stops me from delegating is knowing that people are busy. So thinking about advocating to the team when that's appropriate. So how can you protect the team if they're feeling overloaded? How can you help and support them with that without taking on all the extra pressure and responsibility yourself? Is really important. So particularly if you're in a junior or mid-level management role, there will be some times where you perhaps need to convey to those who are further up the hierarchy, what the team have going on, what the priorities are at the moment, and just get some clarification, perhaps before taking on more work. One of the really important things to think about as you're managing people is the balance between these three different aspects. So this is the Adair model. Some of you may be familiar with this. Um, People on your team, people you're managing are doing tasks, right? They're getting the job done. They've got their to-do list and it involves moving the work of your team forward in whatever way covers their areas of responsibilities. Managers have some additional levels and layers to think about in this. So, as a manager, you're also thinking about the team dynamics. How are things working in the team? Making sure that work isn't being duplicated, making sure that nothing's falling through the cracks. That might incorporate your team meetings. It might be things that you're doing in terms of process changes, improvements that you're looking to make to how things operate. It might be training that you're conscious that the team might benefit from together as a group. So you've got your own work to do, that's the tasks, but you're thinking about how this team of people are interacting together and working well together to achieve the objectives that you're looking for. The third element is the individual. So in the comments, we've already alluded there to some issues around maybe performance management, some things around giving and receiving feedback. So that might be knowing and understanding how some of the individuals in your team prefer to work. It might be that you've got somebody new on the team, and what that means is that they need inducting, and that needs a bit more of your energy and your time in terms of helping to get that person up to speed. It might be that somebody on the team is going through a bit of a tricky time right now and they need a bit more help and support than they might do normally. So just want you to have a little look through your to-do list. I'm assuming you have one. If not, think about what you've been doing so far today. Would you categorize these tasks as task, team, or individual? Just going to give you like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute to have a little look at what you've been working on today or what's on the list for today, and looking to find out what the balance might be between between task, team, and individual. If you want to report back in the chat, that's great. If you're joining us on the recording, still do this activity. I will stop talking so you can have a think about that for a few moments. So again, in the chat there, we've got real variety. Some people have said like all of those have been covered today. Other people are saying uh, mostly tasks. We've got a 20, 40, 40. We've got 95% task, 5% individual. And this will depend on your day, right? Not every day looks the same, but just thinking about, does that balance feel right for you and the role that you're working with and the team that you're operating within and the individuals that make up that team? Are there any individuals who might need a bit more of your help and your attention? Might there be some further support needed there? Are there any things you can be doing to empower and succession plan within the team and the individuals? How are things for the team? What could you do to help? For good leaders are going to be looking at the team and saying, well, what can I do to help and support whilst not getting in the way? So team tasks might be things like planning team meetings or taking actions from team meetings, organising training for the team, looking at the team's workload or the processes, are they helping or hindering people? So if there are times where you're feeling overwhelmed and there are times where you're feeling that there's just so much going on, are there tasks that you can delegate? Are there individuals that it's appropriate to delegate to? Maybe they want to learn some new skills. Perhaps they're looking to get experience in a particular area. Might you go to the team and say, right, we're falling a bit behind on this piece of work. What are our collective ideas to help move this forward, rather than that always being something that's your responsibility? So today it's almost all tasks, but that's perhaps not typical. Yeah, nice. We've got one person there who said they're evenly spread between all three. And I'm also being asked to give some more examples of the individual. So, yeah, that could be training, it could be support, it could be some one-to-one conversations that hopefully you're having regularly with one-to-ones with people on your team. It could be the actions from those discussions. So, it might be that you take away an action to do something to help and support an individual. Hopefully, that makes that a bit clearer. There's a really great point that's just been made in the chat that sometimes it's difficult to get to the task due to the unplanned individual needs. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's why managing people can often take more time than we initially think it's going to. We need to, as managers, leave capacity in our day for dealing with the unexpected. So generally speaking, as a manager of a team, you're probably going to have some things come across your radar most days that perhaps you're not expecting. Your own needs as a manager, yes, that's really important. And we're going to talk about that in the session today later on. We've got a bit of a giveaway coming at the end, but before that, we will definitely talk about where your own needs fit in. A team strategy, yeah, that's definitely a team area. It is hard. There's a comment there in the chat. That's the bit I find hardest, carving out additional time when the day job is so busy. One of the things I often talk to people about when I'm coaching managers is they will say things like, I didn't get the job done today, or I didn't get much work today because this individual needed supporting, or this thing happened in the team. But it's really important to remember that those tasks are the job. It might not be the job you were expecting to do today. It might not be the thing you were expecting to respond to. But I meet a lot of managers who give themselves a really hard time. Like, I've not done the 55 things that I had on my list for today. Well, that was never realistic. And dealing with things that support the individuals and support the team, that's literally the difference between your job and the job that your team might be doing. So we need to reframe that and remember that that is an important, integral piece of the work, rather than it's the thing that's pulling us away from what it is that we need to do. There's a couple of comments there about prioritizing and dealing with the unexpected. So, yeah, absolutely. And when the unexpected arrives, what we want to do is say, well, yeah, these were my priorities this morning. Have they changed given that this new thing has happened? It's very easy to get pulled into and dragged into the new and shiny because it's just landed and it's just arrived. But if we can ask ourselves, does this change my priorities for today? Or actually, are my priorities for today still the same? And maybe I need to communicate to someone, yeah, I will come to this, but it's going to be tomorrow or whenever. Yeah, there's a comment there. I definitely feel less productive when I've spent a day managing people and not ticking things off the list. And when I'm delivering our productivity training, I will often ask people to put up their hand if they've got a to-do list, and then ask them to keep their hands up if they sometimes put things on the list that they've done already, because it feels good to tick stuff off. And most people who keep their hands up, we get that little hit of dopamine, don't we, in our brains when we're ticking stuff off, and it feels good. So just reframing and reminding yourself that that is the job, dealing with those unexpected things. Absolutely. Okay. So, one of the things that we talk about in the manager role session, which is, I say, is often the kickoff session for some of our programs, but we also deliver that as an individual session on its own, is this idea that there are different styles of management and leadership. So the first is the visionary, and as I'm talking through, just think about, maybe one of these stands out for you. Maybe you think, oh, that's a good one. I'd like to do more of that. So just noticing what comes up for you. So there's that visionary leader and manager who's saying, like, this is the direction that we're going in. Come with me. And they're bringing people along with them as change is happening or being instigated. Then we've got the people who are more of the coaching style of managers. So what will you do next? We deliver some training around using a coaching style in the line management relationship. It's one of my favourite things to do. Uh, we're not looking here to tell people the answer as a coaching style. We're looking to help and support them to figure out the answer for themselves by asking questions and being curious. Then we've got our more affiliative style of management, which is around what's going on for the individual. Let's put the person first. Particularly, there might be people on the team who are going through something in their personal lives. They need a bit of extra help or support. There will always be somebody in a team of people who is going through something that's maybe not work related, who might need a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra support, or that might be something you provide, but there might be other people on the team who are able to step in and help in a practical way as well. There's the democratic manager. So rather than coming along and saying to everybody, right, we're doing this, the democratic manager might say, okay, what are we going to do next? We can see that this project is getting derailed a little bit. We're a bit behind on our timescale, or we're not meeting our target. What are everybody's ideas? And taking on that collective um, idea generation and people's different experiences. People bring different thoughts and ideas. So democratic manager is really good at utilizing that. There's the pace setting manager. They come on, we're doing it. We're doing it now. Do what I do. Let's do it now. These managers are really good when perhaps a project is falling behind. Perhaps that's the kind of approach we need in a more of a crisis situation, or the directive manager, like do what I tell you. This is how to do it. Again, if somebody's quite new and junior to the team and they don't know how to do it, this kind of approach might work quite well. So just thinking about if any of these particularly resonate for you, if you recognise yourselves in any of those very brief descriptions, or maybe there's a management style there where you're thinking, I could do with being a bit more of that. So have a think about where you might bring in some of those different management styles to the different situations you might be dealing with at the moment. I like some of these reflections here. Yes, absolutely. The style is adapted to the person, but also the situation. And a good manager is absolutely somebody who knows when to use each different style. And when we're delivering this training in-house, it's very often with people who are relatively new to the world of management. And they may find, well, actually, this is my style. I think when I first started managing people, I was probably much more of a pace setter, maybe democratic, but moved into more of a coaching, affiliative, and using all of those different things. So thinking about these different styles as different tools in your toolbox. Interesting. There's a comment there like, I try to do one and the team prefer the other. So that's worth exploring. And it may be that sometimes the team are looking to you for the answers, and we want to be able to help and support them to come up with some of those answers themselves. And another lovely reflection there. I need to do visionary more based on the results of our engagement survey. I probably do a lot of affiliative and democratic. Yeah. So yes, it's about deploying different styles in different situations, and hopefully, just that very brief overview gives you a bit of a sense of some of the different styles that you might use in different situations. Another lovely, I keep going to move on and seeing these great comments in the chat. Sometimes I feel more directive because I feel that's the quickest way to get the job done. But the team don't benefit from that. Absolutely. If we're looking to empower people, we're looking to build their skills and help them get to a point where they don't need to come to us as the manager for the answer and figure it out for themselves, then constantly being directive isn't going to move towards that. If you're dealing with a crisis situation, something just needs to be done in the next hour, then yes, they just need telling what to do. So one of the skills as the manager is knowing which style to pull on and when. Feedback came a lot when we talked about what made good or not so good managers. So a few tips on that. One is around being specific, around what is it that we're describing or talking about, giving concrete examples, making feedback frequent. That's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? Frequent feedback. So that we are creating a culture, an environment where people are able to give each other feedback, both positive and developmental. So it needs to be balanced, recognizing the great bits of work that people do, as well as the things that are perhaps not going as well. People need to be able to action it. There's no point you telling me I'm too short. I can't do anything about it. So thinking about when you're giving feedback, making it clear what are the actions, or having a conversation with someone about the actions. As a manager, I think it's really important to role model receiving feedback well. So one of the questions you might ask when you're receiving feedback is, okay, what could I do with this? What would be helpful to you going forward? It needs to be relevant to the work and the projects that you're working on, and it needs to be done in a timely way. I did some work recently with a team, and somebody said, I like my feedback to happen there and then when somebody first notices something. And somebody else in the group said, but I need to go away and plan and think about how I'm going to deliver that feedback to you. So there was a bit of a disconnect in terms of the person's experience of wanting the feedback as quickly as possible. And somebody else saying, I find feedback hard. I need to plan it and I need to prepare it. So we need to get that balance right. And we do that by offering it kindly and with good intentions. One of the other things that Graham talks about in his book around kind is the importance of knowing the difference between being nice and being kind. If we're being nice, we're just avoiding the conversations that might need to be had. Whereas if we're being kind to the individual and the wider team, in fact, often we want to be clear, we want to be direct, and it's the feedback is given with good intention. That's we're helping someone to learn and to develop. The other thing that helps us as managers is thinking about values. What are your values as an organization? Perhaps what are your values as an individual? When you've got a tricky situation to deal with or a constructive conversation that needs to be had, it can be really helpful to think about what are the values that we work operate to in our organisation. I'm just sharing on the screen there some of the values that we use at Think Productive. And we use these to help us in decision making. I can see my battery's running low. I'm going to move. We can use these tools to help us in our decision making. I'm thinking about if I'm looking at this particular challenge through some of our organizational values, what does that mean for me? What actions might I take? Sometimes, as a manager, when you're feeling stuck, going back to the values can really help to figure out what your next steps might be. Somebody asked earlier, how do we look through that task, team, and individual? Where do we as the manager sit in that? And you will have all heard the analogy of putting your own mask on first, on the planes when they're doing that kind of safety briefing. Like always put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's really important as a manager, that we're looking after ourselves and our own well-being, and perhaps recognizing when we are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. One of the things we talk about a lot at Think Productive, and it was on the values slide earlier as well, is this idea of being a human, not a superhero. I think often as a manager, we are expected, maybe more by ourselves than by others, to have all the answers, to have it under control, to not feel overwhelmed. So if we are feeling overwhelmed, having a strategy in place to know what to do about it. So that might be pausing, taking a break. It might be looking at the priorities and really asking ourselves some questions around what do I want to prioritize here? What's going to be helpful for me? What's going to be helpful for the team? And role modeling those behaviors around taking a break, not consistently expecting people to deal with emails and Teams messages in the evenings and afternoons and weekends and all those kind of things. So thinking about what you need for yourself, because you're a human being and not a superhero, and how do you model that to the team? Yeah, I love that. Somebody's obviously already read Graham's Kind book or been on one of his sessions. There's an example there around avoiding the feedback sandwich. Yes, definitely. And thinking of salted caramels instead. Salt being a constructive feedback, caramel being the positive. Too much salt when it's too harsh, and too much caramel and it's too nice and sweet. You need a balance. I really like that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so I can see that there are some questions that have been submitted in the chat. That's fantastic news. We're going to come to those in just a moment. We've got plenty of time to answer your questions, and any that don't get answered, we will endeavour over the next few weeks to answer in our newsletters. And at the end, I will stop the recording, and we've got a little giveaway to do as well. But for the moment, just head to the chat. Tell me what's going on your action plan in terms of things that you might do in your own role as a manager. Maybe that's looking after your own health and well-being. What might you do there? Or maybe different styles of management, or maybe you need to change that balance between the task, the team, and the individual. So just giving you a moment or two to share something that's going in your action plan. Oh, there's some great actions coming out here. Fantastic. And there's loads of somebody has mentioned in the chat earlier that they watched one of our YouTube videos around giving and receiving feedback, and Graham's talk around being kind, stepping back and looking at things holistically. Oh, wonderful. There's some great things there in the chat. Okay. We've just scratched the surface, right? We've got a very short amount of time together to talk about something that's a massive topic in terms of how we manage people, how we get that balance. So if you are interested in finding out a bit more about the manager role session, then do please get in touch. You can email us at hello@thinkproductive.co.uk. We deliver this session quite regularly in-house, both in person and online. There's lots of opportunity in that session to ask questions as well. We have coming up in October how to be a productivity ninja workshop. So if anybody, for yourself or your team, feeling you've got too much work and not enough time in which to do it, then this is a great session for you. We look at how you organize your workload. We help you plan and prioritize what it is that you're working on. It's a very practical session, and we do deliver that session in-house as well. Elena's already shared, I think, the links to booster workshops, so you can get a little taste of some of the different things that we do.
Yeah, can I just say a word about the Skills Booster Hub? So I'm
Yes.
sharing the link now. So basically all the upcoming skills boosters, like today is a skills booster, all of the upcoming sessions are on there, so you can book anywhere in the world, watch upcoming sessions, register for them, and there's all the previous recordings are in there as well, so you can filter by topic. And I've shared previously all the feedback sessions we've delivered as a skills booster, so they're all in there. Yeah, loads of great stuff. So I know we've got a lot of fans and people who share this on their intranet, on their LMSs, and yeah, whole teams come along and record and watch and stuff. So yeah, share away.
Absolutely. And then you can have a chat about it afterwards as well and think about what you're going to do. I love
Oh,
that. Fantastic. Thank you, Elena. I'd love to hear from you on LinkedIn. I've got my LinkedIn details there. Um, would love to hear what you do with this stuff and how you take it forward. If you have any questions after today, do get in touch.